And good afternoon, everybody. Chris Bartell here from the Cascade Pacific Council for today's Wednesday webinar. Welcome to it. We have a lot to cover today, and today's webinar, of course, is focused on summer camp. We've got lots of great updates and information for you, so we're going to share that with you momentarily. But first of all, we're going to have a little safety moment here. It is wintertime, and hypothermia is one of those things we have to be aware of. So going to share with you today's safety moment is about hypothermia. And we're going to talk about the signs and symptoms of hypothermia are really, as you would know, right? Feeling cold and shivering, but shivering uncontrollably. Cool or cold skin on the abdomen, chest, or back. You know, usually you're warm down there, but in your belly. But if that's getting cold, fair warning. Also, the presence of the umbles. I thought this was interesting, but a great way to remember the presence of stumbles, the loss of control over movement, mumbles, slurred or incoherent speech, fumbles, poor condition or reaction time, and grumbles, change in behavior or attitude. So it's a little different than being hangry. So you got to combine all those things. So remember the umbles, and of course, having fatigue and being tired. So those are some signs and symptoms. If you're out there playing in the cold and you're seeing these things happen, here is how you take care of it. You've got to get the victim out of the cold, of course, right? Makes absolute sense. If their clothes are wet, you've got to remove them and wrap them up in warm, dry clothes. Staying warm and dry is super, super key. Also offering warm liquids to drink, not hot, but just warm. You're trying to warm the insides and handle that person very gently. Excessive movements or rough handling can lead to cardiac arrest. So you just want to be really careful, handle folks gently if you think they are suffering from hypothermia. Also applying warm, dry compresses to the neck and chest. Really remember warming that core like we were just talking about. And of course, get emergency care and call 911. So there is your safety moment for today. All right, here, let's first of all, before we dive into the summer camp updates, we're of course going to go through the latest news from around the Cascade Pacific Council. Just take a few moments to do this and give you all the things that are going on. Just a heads up that tomorrow night, Thursday night, we will have our summit and roundtable, our summit opening and roundtable breakout sessions tomorrow night, starting at 6:30, and then roundtables for the districts are at 7 o'clock, of course. So pop on over to that. Some great places to connect with your fellow scouters, some new friends, old friends, even if it's virtually. Just a great way to connect and say hi and get the latest news updates. So join us for that. Check your email for the links to that, and we will have the latest and greatest links, of course, for the breakout sessions at the summit at 6:30. So check your emails for links for that. Okay, I'm going to toss the ball over to Mr. Todd McDonald here, who is our COVID guru. Whether he's like that moniker or not, I'm not sure, but seems like it's been his moniker for how long now, Todd? It's been a while. So 2 years. So Todd's going to give us a COVID update on some guidelines and some new information from the task force. So Todd, take it away.
All right. Thank you all very much. Yes, I am the staff advisor to the COVID task force for the Cascade Pacific Council, a special task force made up of doctors, safety professionals, board members, and youth leaders just like you to help us decide what is the best and safest way to go through, take the state guidelines, the CDC guidelines, and turn it into a plan that works for everybody. As you all know, as we move into this next phase of COVID, we want to make sure that we highlight our current strategies in there on this slide. One is we need to make sure that everybody is well informed about the current state of COVID. And I'm going to talk to you because I have found in the last 60 days, there have been a lot of confusion about the actual facts with regard to how one can get get infected and what type of communication needs to happen. Again, we need to practice good safety and make sure that we're communicating, and that we'll talk about here in just a second. More importantly, we want to make sure that we're protecting those who are at greater risk. I have a good friend of mine who his spouse is going through cancer treatments and has not been able to be vaccinated, nor has any immunities at this time. And in their household, they must have a much greater sensitivity and risk averse feelings than maybe a house with, with less risk averse people. And most importantly, everybody needs, with this information, needs to make good decisions for their individual families. That means that a group may decide to do something, But as an individual family, you may decide to opt out based on the safety measures being going on with that group. Okay, next slide there, Chris. So nothing has changed. The latest change in Oregon no major changes in Washington in the last 60 days necessarily, was made on November 23rd, and we updated our policy guidelines. And you'll see down here, cpcbsa.org/COVID is where we keep a updated set of guidelines for unit activities, and they're on there. However, here's the information that people are not aware about. If one is contagious, that one is contagious 48 hours prior to their first symptoms. So that means if you have an activity and you screen them and they wear their mask and all those things, that they could still have COVID and be infectious, even though that they don't have any temperature or they're feeling fine. So that means that any activity that you go to, you are it is possible that you're going to run into, especially now with the number of infections going way up, to interact with somebody with COVID and who's infectious that has no symptoms. More so now than ever, I think. Anyone may be asymptomatic with COVID and have COVID at any time. And that includes people who are vaccinated and boosted. All right. In my house, we ended up having COVID in our house after a holiday activity. And both my sons who are both, vaccinated and boosted, ended up testing positive for COVID. Now their symptoms were minor, but we have grandparents and other people, so we had to quarantine just like the rest. And so Omicron is affecting vaccinated people. They still have the light symptoms, but they're still contagious and can affect others. And we're seeing these bigger infectious events happening. I don't have a lot of reports happening at troop meetings yet, but a lot of family and community spread is going on right now. The other day was 18,000 new infections in one day. Children and youth are at lower risk of hospitalization and major illness. That is true, but children are getting COVID at a much higher rate right now. And that means that they could also spread it to other people, especially immunocompromised or comorbidities at a higher risk. People with asthma, breathing issues, diabetes, and heart problems really succumb to some pretty good risk with this. Good, next slide. So we need to make sure that we're wearing masks all the time indoors. We should, be considerate about social distance whenever we can. Outside activities, they're not required to have masks unless you're spending a whole lot of time together. So people may think of sitting at a picnic table for 2 hours working on a merit badge outside. Well, that would be one where I would consider wearing a mask. And making sure that the screening and communication with scouts and parents are done and done well. And so let's go ahead and go to the next slide. We've updated our screening questions and report form, meeting logs on our site, cpcbsa.org/COVID. We added some questions that really you need to use to make sure everybody's well informed, because we're not reducing people's activity. We want people to self-decide that, but we want to make sure that they're informed. So we've added these 3 questions. Are you aware that you could come in contact with an asymptomatic individual who's infectious with COVID at this meeting? They need to understand that is a risk. It could happen. Are you aware that if you contract COVID, you are infectious 48 hours prior to your first symptoms? Which means, do you agree to notify us if you develop symptoms within 48 hours of this activity, so that we can contact trace for you and let everybody else know so they can prevent spreading it to other people? So that's what we have now. And if you run into any challenges or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and make sure that you review all the information on cpcbsa.org/COVID. Back to you, Chris.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd. Really appreciate that. And let's see here. Let's now dive into a couple of things here, more on the news side of things and events and just some deadlines and reminders. First of all, we're going to talk about horses. We got a lot of them. So we'd love to have you come out and take a little ride. So here are a couple awesome opportunities for to enjoy the largest herd of horses of any council in the Boy Scouts of America. Fantastic opportunities here. Let's dive in here. First of all, Little Buckaroo is back, or should I say Little Buckaroo. And Little Buckaroo is back. It's for Cub Scouts ages 6 to 9. It's a 2-hour horsemanship class. You're going to get to hang out with the wranglers and the horses. Awesome time of just horse safety and learning about horses and grooming and some basic riding skills too. And you'll learn about cowboy gear and so much more. It's awesome. It's happening now through May. So basically from now until summer camp, and you can mosey on out to Butte Creek Scout Ranch. I know Scott DiPaolo and the whole crew out there would just love to see you. They've had some crews out there earlier this year, and it's just been awesome. And I actually just talked to Scott just a couple of days ago, and he is excited, thrilled to have you come out and meet the horses and hang out for the day. So check that out at cpcbsa.org/horses. Also, there is a good deal on horse rides for half day and full day rides. If you book your ride before January 31st, you actually get to save $15 on half day rides and $30 on full day rides. So check that out at cpcbsa.org/horses as well. And of course, this again is at Butte Creek Scout Ranch. It's for families and units and scouts ages 10 and up. And like I said, you can choose from half day or full day rides. Just a great time to get out there and enjoy the horses. Okay, some upcoming events here we just want you to be aware of is Super Weekend. Registration is getting full here for Super Weekend, especially for Scouts B.A.S.E. But what's awesome is our brand new Super Weekend for Cub Scout packs. We've been mentioning this for a while now, and it is filling up too. So you really want to talk to your scouts, talk to your Cub Scouts about coming out for Super Weekend. It's kind of like summer camp light. You get to play with a lot of the activities and programs and just have a great time at Butte Creek Scout Ranch. And again, with the horses and the shooting ranges, so much more. It's really a fun way to just sort of kick off and get prepared, kick off the year and doing something just awesome and get ready for summer camp. Really fun. I know my scouts have always enjoyed it. And so also, speaking of which, so Scouts B.A.S.E. Scouts, again, it is filling up, and it's at Camp Meriwether for your Super Weekends. There are 3 options here: March, April, and September. And so you're going to want to register for that soon, because again, those are filling up. It is an awesome time. It is something our scouts have looked forward to every year. So check it out at cpcbsa.org, just under the Adventures tab there, and you'll see Super Weekend. So check that out. Also for Scouts B.A.S.E., we have some new Meriting with the Experts courses covering a variety of merit badges here: American Labor, Engineering, Aviation, Sustainability. These are classes/courses at the Evergreen Aviation and Space Museum. Awesome time. They have partnered with us to help all the Scouts B.A.S.E. scouts just really achieve and accomplish these merit badges, and in some cases even finish them up that day. So really great opportunity. You can find out, there's a whole bunch of dates, so we're not mentioning them all here, but you'll find them at cpcbsa.org/calendar. You can use the little search tool there and literally just start typing in meriting or meriting with the experts, and you'll see a whole bunch of opportunities there for you on the weekends. We mentioned this earlier, but just a quick reminder and a heads up, because this is a little bit new, is Scouting for Food. So a bunch of you were out there doing Scouting for Food during the holidays. Well, we have changed this to become Spring Scouting for Food. The reason is because we talked to all of the partners that we have out there, whether they're food banks and churches and whatnot, all these drop-off sites that you've been using, and they really needed help in the spring. So this is just an awesome opportunity for us to really dive in and do Scouting for Food in the springtime and really help replenish the food bank. So that's going to be the first weekend of March. The first Saturday of March is when we do the collections. We are working on a couple things for you. So we're going to have door hangers. You'll be able to sign up for those at cpcbsa.org/SFF. That's Scouting for Food. And that'll be, we expect next week. So we'll give you a heads up on that. You just watch your email for it as well. Be able to sign up for how many door hangers you think you're going to need so that we can get a good quantity printed and whatnot. You can can then contact, if you already have a relationship with a local food bank partner, you could give them a heads up. We've given those a heads up that we know about, of course, here at the council. But if you happen to work with someone unique, then just give them a heads up that we're doing this now in the spring. It's going to be an awesome time to help replenish the food bank there. So we'll then deliver your door hangers in February, and you can then distribute them in February. And then, of course, you'll do the pickups in March. So it'll be awesome. Okay, a couple other things real quick here. Save the date for Wood Badge. We're actually next week going to be doing a Wood Badge webinar. It's awesome time to learn about just leadership and growth for adults. Really great opportunity. Wood Badge is going to be this coming September. So you're going to want to check that out at cpcbsa.org/woodbadge for information on that. And we'll cover it. We'll do a deep dive on it next week. It'll be awesome. Also, a couple other things. World Jamboree, National Jamboree, amazing opportunities for adults and youth to just really get to meet scouts from all over the United States, or in World Jambo's case, all over the world. Awesome opportunity. So just check those out at cpcbsa.org/jamboree for the National Jamboree information. And for World Jamboree, go to 2023wsjkorea.org. These again are in 2023, but a lot of scouts like to start raising money for this trip ASAP. So check that out. Also, the Outdoor Skills Institute is going to be this May. This is another opportunity for adults to learn some great instruction about climbing and riflery and leave no trace, a whole bunch of opportunities to grow as a scout leader, as an adult. This is going to be May 13th through 15th, and registration is going to be opening here soon. So keep an eye out for that. It's called the Outdoor Skills Institute. Great opportunity to learn and grow in your outdoor skills as an adult leader. Okay, some other quick news updates as well. Some of you are starting up Camp for All campaigns. That's going to be kicking into gear, where we all go out there and we raise money to help every scout get to camp and give them a first-class experience. For those of you who have been to the camps that we have here in the Cascade Pacific Council, you know how awesome they are, and the programs are awesome. We're super excited. And of course, today we're going to dive deep into summer camp and kick off our summer camp webinars this week. So that's going to be awesome. So just be aware that you can get all the tools, materials you need at cpcbsa.org/startcamp4all. That's start camp 4 all. And you can get your resources there for kicking off your Camp for All campaign. Awesome way to help us get more scouts to camp and give them an incredible experience. Also, if you'd like to help out, raise money, or just have a really great time, and you like to shoot shotguns, or you like golf and shotguns, even better, you should check out cpcbsa.org/shootout. This is the Kerr Contractors Sporting Clays Shootout. It is golf with guns. It is awesome. It is totally awesome. Check it out at cpcbsa.org/shootout. You can get a team together, or if you want to become a sponsor, or you want to be involved with the auction and give some items for the auction, that would be awesome. Great ways to support scouting here in the Cascade Pacific Council. Okay, one last thing here on some fundraising opportunities and just helping out the council for the long run. There is this great opportunity to actually be a sponsor of a Meriwether staff bunkhouse, as you can see here in the picture for those of you who are watching. But for those who are just listening to our webinar, when the recording later on, you can actually become a sponsor and actually have your name, your family's name, or whatnot on one of the bunkhouses for all time. So you can actually contact Mike Egan. He's in charge of this. There are only a few opportunities left. So you can contact Mike at michael.egan, that's EGAN, at scouting.org to become a sponsor of a Meriwether staff bunkhouse. And these are incredible, beautiful. For those of you who haven't seen them yet, check them out on the website. It's really going to be awesome for the staff and for outdoor school, a whole bunch of opportunities there. Okay, also, if you are a scout who's looking to raise money for camp, join us for the Spring Snack Attack fundraiser. Training is starting this next week. So you're going to want to register for that, because we also want to know who all wants to be involved with this. And this is basically the old meat stick and candy sale. And so we call it Snack Attack. It's pretty fun. And you can check that out at cpcbsa.org/snack attack. There is a place where you can register for that and start the training and kick that into gear. All right, enough of my babbling about the news. we're going to now hand it off to the real reason why you came here, which is about summer camp updates. We had a small fee increase as well. We're going to dive into that and what and the why behind all of that. And this is awesome because we're just going to kick it off. And this is going to be awesome because I'm excited to head back to summer camp. I know my kids are excited to head back to summer camp. So let's hand the ball over to Mr. Todd McDonald one more time and Chris Harold, our resident camping director. And you guys can take it away.
Go for it, Chris.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Chris. Hey, good afternoon or whatever time you're listening to this webinar. And I would just like to start by saying every time I hear the news portion of these webinars, I think about my favorite restaurant, because at my favorite restaurant, I look at the menu and I go, oh, I want to do that. I want that one. Oh, I want that too. Oh, I want that too. You can't eat it all. And similarly with I used to tell, as a Cub Master, I always used to tell our parents on the recruiting night, look, there's this great menu of things we can do through the year. We could do blue and gold, we can do Pinewood Derby, we can do all these different things. We'll do exactly the number that we have volunteers for. And that's how many we'll do. We don't have to do all of them, don't have to do any of them, but we want it to be a fun time for our kids. So let's do the ones we are fired up about. So anyway, lots and lots of opportunities in scouting, never a shortage of opportunities to stay busy and active and have fun. So next slide, please. As we start thinking about summer camp for this next year, I mean, some of us have been thinking for quite a while, and reservations are looking pretty good. They're in good shape for a starting point, and certainly much better than when we jumped into all this COVID stuff. But it's important for you to know not just that we have found a need to raise our fees midstream, which is something I've never seen before in our council as a need. But second, the reasons behind it. That's really urgent and important for you to know. So the fact is, our Scouts B.A.S.E youth and adult fees are going up $20 per person, and Cub Scout youth and adult fees $10 per person for summer 2022. You can see right down there in those bullet points some of the rationale for that. Again, this is not something we wanted to do, not something we were eager to do, something that we found it necessary just to sustain the budget for the coming year, to offer the programs and opportunities for our scouts that are essential in our camps. For example, insurance. It's essential that we're insured. And with the fires that have happened, especially the fires that have happened in the West here in these last few years, our insurance costs have nearly doubled. I understand that's close to or a little more than a six-figure increase in just our insurance costs. That was not something we planned for. It was not, I don't know how you would necessarily plan for that large of an increase in insurance costs. It's not an expected thing. Food costs similarly have gone up a tremendous amount. Part of that has come from our inability to serve food in dining halls at all our camps. So when you make that switch, you have to go through and you have to buy a whole lot of new equipment to then deliver the food out to the campsites or whichever method you're doing that. And that, again, we were able to pull off summer camp. We were able to make it go, but that along with food costs themselves are anticipated to continue. That third bullet point talks about our camps are, because of COVID restrictions, are able to camp fewer scouts. We see some of that in our waiting lists, which this year are larger than usual for who is wanting to come to our camps, because we capped our attendance for now at a lower level. And that means fewer scouts coming, that means fewer camper fees, that means less to maintain the properties, not just for the summer, but year round. And then finally, that the COVID supplies themselves. We were fortunate in this last year to receive some grants and supplies in terms of test kits, in terms of, I mean, every piece of it, think masking, hand sanitizer, all these kind of things from various sources, and that we don't anticipate would be an ongoing thing available to us. And we do anticipate that there would be some level of COVID restrictions still in place, and need for remediation on our part to make sure that our camps are as safe as possible. So these were things that we did not expect when we set the fees about 2 years ago for this summer. And so those are surprises that came along. And unfortunately, are necessary to keep our camps in operation. So we appreciate your understanding with this. And I guess maybe the upshot of it, if these increases impact your scouts to the point where you're going, well, I just don't think most of our scouts can attend, or this scout or that scout can attend because of this increase in fees, we have made more scholarships available for our scouts, Cub Scouts, Scouts B.A.S.E, either way. And the scholarship application is online right now. The link was in the email that went out this week about this price increase. And so we're trying to be responsive because we want every scout to go to camp. Every one of them we want to go to camp. And then sometimes that means giving them the help that they need to be able to do it. And so we want to be helpful in that way, because a scout is helpful among many other things. So thank you for that. Can we move along to the next slide? As we start thinking more about the program side of summer camp, you heard Todd talking about some of the COVID restrictions as they stand today. Fact is, we don't know precisely where they'll stand by summer, but we have made some working assumptions. And among those are things such as our camps will be closer to what we would consider normal in terms of programming, so that at Scouts B.A.S.E camp, we anticipate, it's not a certainty yet, that scouts would be able to independently resume going to merit badge learning times. That they most likely will need to be masked when they're in their program areas in those merit badge times, but that's the kind of thing. So as we're talking about it, please understand that we're making continuing to make our best guesses. The opportunities we are fairly certain about, such as Cub camping. Please bring your whole pack to summer camp this summer. We aim to make units, packs, and troops stronger when they come to summer camp. And if only one den is represented, or a couple kids and a couple parents are represented, it's hard to make a pack stronger while they're at camp. We're building our program on the basis of, let's make the pack stronger. Let's make the troops stronger. And so we recommend coming as a whole pack. That also means that you're around people who you already know and who you're already working with on a regular basis in your campsite and on your activities and those sorts of things. So we're excited to have packs come join us at summer camp. Butte Creek Scout Ranch is the Cub camping mecca for our region. 3 nights, 4 days of Cub Scout camping with horses, with the whole Western theme, with a Western Main Street. Beautiful, beautiful time. And so please come join us out there for the time of your choice. Second, our Scouts B.A.S.E camps. Oh gosh, Cub camping. We didn't list the Webelos camp on this slide, did we? That comes up in another slide. That's why. So that's a tease for a couple slides. Our Scouts B.A.S.E camping continues at Camp Baldwin, Camp Meriwether, and Camp Pioneer, each with their own features. If you haven't been to all 3 of them, branch out, try another one. They're each as cool as the next one. I think all 3 of us on the webinar today, as moderators, can list an armload of experiences. It would be fun times, great times, wonderful times that we've had at each of these camps of ours. They are special places. They are unique among Boy Scout councils. Scouts and Scouts B.A.S.E, the young men, young women who go continue to benefit from their time there by affiliating with the staff and each other, for crying out loud. Family camping. This is coming up and has some work to do to get it to its final stage. We know state parks open up their reservations, I think, at the first of the year, and we're holding back a little bit, but we will have family camping available at Camp Clark this summer. Beautiful site, beautiful property. State parks will be full, and you can go to Camp Clark with your family and experience a lovely time without the shenanigans of the people 3 feet away in the next campsite. Or if they are the shenanigans, they'll be the kind that you welcome instead of don't like. So please consider joining us with your family at Camp Clark this summer, and we'll get those reservations up and running so that you can set aside your time with your family. Families who came when we could only run these camps as family camps, the families who came and camped with us there, a breath of fresh air would be one way to frame it, but the reviews that they gave of their time and their just the ability to get out with their family and take in these beautiful properties, that they made my heart glow that summer, because there wasn't a lot that could make your heart glow that summer when it was so locked down. So great. It's still a wonderful and amazing opportunity, and we're thrilled to be able to continue to offer that to our scouting families. So very good. Next slide, please. There's the one I was teasing about. For the first time, we are offering Baldwin Base Camp, and it's for Webelos only. So the whole point of this base camp is to give Webelos the base that they need to feel confident and comfortable transitioning into Scouts B.A.S.E. It's a unique opportunity among Webelos resident camps, because there is swimming, there is boating, there is, well, all that list of things that's on this slide. And it's an experience that our younger Cub Scouts aren't quite ready for in many cases, and that our older Webelos are ready for. There's only 2 sessions of this. So, and they are about half full as we talk today. And that's pretty great for a program that we've not run before. But we're excited to see every Webelo who wants to go to camp with your pack and then come again with to this Baldwin Base Camp. It's going to be a great experience for them as they get introduced to what Scouts B.A.S.E. camp is like. Some of the cooking skills, learning the equipment that they'll need as Scouts. So many opportunities here to prepare these Webelos for their Scouts B.A.S.E. experience. Great, please continue. From here to the finish line of showing up at camp, and actually even while you're at camp, probably the most important thing that we believe we can do to be helpful is to be good communicators. So you see us today on this webinar, you'll see us in a couple weeks in a camping webinar, you'll see us the last Wednesday of every month in a camping webinar, to be able to help you prepare your Scouts and yourselves to come to camp. So that communication, we learned some things during this pandemic, and one thing we learned was some concrete ways to improve our communication. So that's one, is webinars. Second is every month we want to send you a update. So we're going to just try and keep that information flowing and consistent, and make it easy to do the right thing, because I know you get so much communication in your life between the emails, texts, and whatever sources that we want to make it easy for you to access the current and up-to-date information. At the same time, I had an interesting conversation with all our camp directors last night in our meeting where they're concerned that they don't want to jump the gun too much on giving you all this detailed information that they're not confident that they can commit to quite yet, right? Because what they don't want to do is set you up to come to camp and say, hey, you said you were going to do this, why aren't you doing it? They don't want to be those people. They don't want to tell you, hey, this is, sorry, changed our minds. That's not how they want to be. They want to be giving you the right information. They are passionate about wanting to give you the correct information as soon as they have it. So we'll be working on those leader guides, but I want to point out one other piece of that puzzle. There is a new form of communication to us called the portal, and each portal is specific to each camp. And that, when it gets rolled out here in a couple months, is going to have some of those granular details that you need to know. What time is basketry merit badge, right? And that kind of the things that are kind of staffing related, or who's coming which week kind of related. In fact, it gives us a good place for you to send the parents from your pack or troop to get the most current information in that last few weeks run up to camp. And also it gives the camps an easy way to keep everything up to the minute in terms of what updates they might be seeing. So it helps us to be more responsive and you to be more informed. Good goals, I'd say. So those web portals will be you'll be able to access, you'll get news on how to access those as soon as they are up. So thanks for that. Finally, we've got people, because you're going to have questions between now and coming to camp. And the list of those people is both in the email that went out earlier this week to you and right down at the bottom of this slide. Our front desk folks are great. They know about each of our camps and anything related to your registration there, and payment dates, and how do we change which leaders, or how do we change which numbers, how many scouts are coming. They're wonderful at taking care of all those things. My name's on there as well. If you've got questions more about the direction of camp or those sorts of things, I can be helpful to you. The program information, as we keep rolling it out here, that tends to be the questions where we say we don't know yet, but we're going to know soon, in terms of when that comes out. The old program guides are also a good resource, because it gives you an idea of what we've done there in the past to know the camp is generally like this, to give you a sense of that rhythm and drumbeat of what the camping season is like. Next slide, please. As you prepare for camp, we of course mentioned those monthly webinars, and you can add those to your calendar so you're ready for them. It's likely that everybody is not able to be at a noon webinar, but the beautiful thing is Chris Bartell is really good at loading those onto the website in a prompt fashion so that anybody can listen to them, even months after they've been done. You could go back, I think, right now and listen to last summer's Getting Ready for Camp webinars, where a much more nervous director of camping was trying to explain, well, we think it's going to maybe be sort of like this week, and we'll tell you something different next week. Tentaroo is your friend, your primary contact. So if you signed up last summer for camp, and whoever's leading your troop to camp is a different person now, get that changed right away, because all the information we're sending is based on who signed up to go. Kind of like if you sign up for an Airbnb, and they're going to communicate through whoever you signed up with there. So that's what we're doing with Tentaroo. So if your information has changed, log in and change that. If you don't have the login stuff, our people at our front desk can help you get that switched around. Parents and leaders can be added to our email list. That link, Chris, could you put that in the chat? If we want to add additional, you can add as many people as you want to our camp communication list. So when we send out these regular emails, everybody's getting that information. So you can add people to that list so everybody is getting the information that's needed. The crucial part about the Tenaroo thing is that that's where like the billing information and those kind of things are going to go. All right, March 1st and May 1st. If you're Scouts B.A.S.E, March 1st, each scout who's going has to have a total of $100 paid for camp. And that's the same date as May 1st if you're in a Cub Scout pack. So those two dates are important. The important part of that is by March 1st or May 1st, depending on which group you're in, we know that you're serious about coming to camp. We know that you didn't just put down the $10 registration, that you're serious about coming to camp with us this summer. And it gives you a chance to adjust your numbers and us to adjust our numbers and our supplies and staffing and everything that goes along with it. So those are crucial dates. Those are crucial dates. I should say that following that date, we know we have waiting lists for this summer. So maybe more than any other year. We want you to hit those dates in particular, because we want those scouts who are on the waiting list, if there's room, to get them in there. So if March 15th comes along, for example, and you're a troop who has just put down the $10 and gone, we'll pay later, you're probably getting a call from us saying, hey, we want these other 40 scouts to be able to come to camp, and you don't look like you're very serious about coming to camp. So we want to make sure we take care of the payments on time, this year especially. June 1st is a early bird deadline. So we recognize troops and packs who get their full payments in by June 1st, with camp bucks to be used in the camp trading post, and discounts. And that is that is the date for that. Your full payment for camp isn't actually, so that's for early bird and that specific recognition. We want everybody to be paid in full by June 1st. If that's not feasible for you, if up to 2 weeks before camp, you can make final payments for camp, and that will get you, and that's all just fine. And then 2 weeks before camp also, the youth fees become non-refundable. That means if you've registered for 40 scouts and you're bringing 10, you owe us still for 30 scouts, because we've held those spaces and bought the supplies and hired a staff for those 30 absent scouts. So we want to have that thorough communication of here's who's coming. And it is important to us because we do make decisions based on the information you give. That we want to be good stewards of the dollars that are available for camping, and treat your scouts the best time possible. Next slide, please.
Chris, I'd like to jump in here real quick.
Would you please?
A best practice for all of you we've run into is that make sure that you get of the list of people that you have going, that you set commitment dates of that $100 payment to you in time for those deadlines, so that you know that they are serious about going and those families are serious about going, because you will be expected to pay those after those dates. And so and we have a lot of people that will come back to us saying, you know, this is really unfair, and we're saying we've been very clear from the get-go as to what we're doing here. And so please do whatever you can to ensure that those deadlines are met. I just want to emphasize that.
Thank you for that, Todd. While we've been going through these times, our camps have continued to improve, and on the facility side of things, the shower house remodels or rebuildings that have happened have made for these wonderful shower houses, single stall. It's got a toilet and a shower and a sink and a mirror, and it's fans and all kinds of stuff. It's a very nice space to shower and clean up every day. And we used to have this whole dance around, is it an adult male, adult female, a staff person, and under 18, was it a scout, who gets to go in this room at this hour? We don't have that dance any longer. A little bit still at Camp Pioneer, but by and large, we've been able to eliminate that dance through these really cool new facilities and generous donors who've contributed. Those buildings were built entirely outside of our summer camp operating funds. By the way, that's an important thing to recognize, is that some generous donors in our community have taken really good care of us in being able to upgrade that portion of our facilities with that new construction. We've also added new wash stands because we want our campsites to be, Scout is clean. We want to represent that in our campsites, flushing outhouses, all those kind of things, and shelters. If you haven't been to Butte Creek lately, well, don't go right now because the hill is very soggy, but we've eliminated the hill. And 2002, okay, now I'm the old guy going, back in my day. But in 2002, when I was camp director at Butte Creek, I remember those appraisals coming in, and I've seen them since every year. You know, it's too far up the hill. It's too far up the hill. It's too far up the hill. And really, get an 8-year-old, a 7-year-old to go up to the highest part of the hill to take their rest time after lunch and then come back down the hill in time for program. Well, you might get back up and back down in time for program without any rest time in between. As the wildfires that came through a couple of years ago had the benefit of allowing us to rebuild the campsites in locations that are more convenient to our scouts and scouters, not just in the summer, but year round. And in fact, the two campsites that are there at the far end of the meadow, they're stunning. One, you can hear the creek going by all the time. We had no campsites that did that before, and now that there's this one that overlooks the creek that with a fence for safety, and it's just beautiful. And all the campsites just kind of have these nice overlooks now. So I am an optimist. I do look for silver linings, but in Butte Creek, we've found one for sure in our ability to rebuild the facility. One other little word about Butte Creek and the facility there. I'd be wrong not to recognize the donors who, after our wildfires, stepped up to help with that rebuilding process. That allowed us to move in a really quick time after a wildfire. The wildfires were in September. Winter set in pretty quick after that. And all spring of last year, our staff and some volunteers were able to just crush it and figure out a plan and then execute that plan in record time. They're still executing that plan and continuing to make improvements there. But my goodness, that scouting is wonderful that way. I guess I'm gushing. We already talked about the new camp portals, and those will be coming as well. The camp directors were more excited about those. I wouldn't be surprised to see those done before May 1st, but May 1st is the date we're committing to. So all these things to try and help you and your scouts have the best summer camp experience possible. Next thing, please, next slide. Thank you. Oh my gosh, camp experiences are only as good as their staff, and we need staff. Our seasoned staff has gotten used to a couple summers of not having summer camp to the extent that we've had before. So scouts who've not served on camp staff are missing out on one of the most wonderful summers of their lives. I did not say highest paying summers of their lives, but I did say wonderful, because in terms of the life experience, job skills, taking on responsibility, that as a 16-year-old, I remember just being awed by the fact that you're trusting me to do what now? That having that level of trust and responsibility is one of the highest growth experiences in scouting. I'd hold it right up there against earning your eagle in terms of quality experience. And we've always searched to try to find the words to express that in a way that motivates our 16 and older year old scouts to come and serve on camp staff. And it's almost something that just has to be experienced. It is a prime lifetime experience. And again, I'm gushing, I know, but I guess I drank the Kool-Aid. I'm not sure. So that's, I just wanted to share that with you. This is the time to fill out the applications. The website link is right there on the bottom right of the screen, cpcbsa.org/campstaff. And the application is brief, gets all the necessary information. We try to honor the preferences of our scouts who apply, and you don't have to be a scout to apply. But we try to honor the preferences of which camp you would like to be at and which job you're skilled to do. I will also let you know that the hardest positions at summer camp, not just ours, but all summer camps in the world, I would guess, to fill, are things like camp medic, bikes course director, climbing directors, food service managers, very specialized skills, year-round recruiting on our part to try and find those people who fill the bill and are willing to work at camp for the summer and live in that beautiful setting. But if you know of folks who have those skill sets, please send them our way. Please send them our way. In fact, give them my phone number, 503-225-5755. That number again is 503-225-5755. Operators are standing by. Our interview sessions this year will be virtual, and they will begin. Some camps have begun interviewing already, some of those people who've applied, and we will have a formal set aside time on February 5th, 9 to noon, that's a Saturday, coming up soon, to interview all those who've applied. So yeah, again, I know I'm gushing. I know that to be a fact, but it's worth gushing about. There's few things in life I'll gush about. That's one. Thank you. Next slide, please.
Basically, that's it for the summer camp portion of it. Let's look and see if we have any questions. We've been answering a few of them on Facebook And for anyone who has questions, feel free, who are joining us live here on Zoom, feel free to toss a question into the chat here. We haven't had any quite yet here. We've answered a few in regards to Camp Clark and family camping out there, as well as Cub Scout camping at Butte Creek, exclusively at Butte Creek. And so those have been answered there. If anybody else has questions, let me just check Facebook one more time here. And let's see. Yeah, I think we're okay so far. Give me one moment. Todd, did you have anything you wanted to sort of add?
Well, one of the two things that I would like to share based on questions that come up. We actually doubled our capacity for Cub Scout resident camp for this summer over what attended last summer. But to do that, what we had to do was reduce one of the camps, and we were able to start with this Webelos adventure, which is something we've been trying to get going for many years, and this is a good year to do that. And that allowed us to free up Camp Clark for family camping, which is our highest camp in demand for that activity for the summer, which we're really excited to be able to offer. And those are our thoughts about that. People are concerned that we'll never do Camp Clark again as a Cub Scout resident camp, and no, that's just not the case. But we want to make sure that we are utilizing our properties in the best that we can, and that is our current plan there. One of the questions was, does that mean that we're only doing family camping at Camp Clark? Yes and no. We still offer a Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend family camping at Camp Meriwether. Otherwise, yeah, that's going to be our primary for family camps. Now, packs can do, pack camping or something like that as well, and they can reserve camp for that. But as far as just a single family signing up to go and use a campsite, that's only going to happen at those two places. And then the other question is, why don't we close things down? Why don't we try to make, tell people that they need to stop meeting in person? And this has been a big debate for the last about 2 weeks now as we roll through it. And it comes down to a spirit that the COVID task force has, is that it's really critical that our units learn to live with COVID, because it's still going to be around a while. And to be able to put them in, both being knowledgeable and in the decision place is critical to a successful program. It also, I have not received anything from the state or our health authorities from both Washington and Oregon asking us to do anything during this Omicron thing at this time. So just stay tuned. If that's to happen, we will let you know. But at this point, our current guidelines are increase knowledge and make sure our leaders and families can make good quality decisions.
Awesome, Todd. Thanks. And that's a really great reminder for folks to head over to cpcbsa.org/COVID to download the latest and greatest guides, as well as the meeting log that you want to keep track of. And for all of your meetings, or if you're heading out on a camping experience, any of that, just keeping track of that. And we needed to keep track of that, I believe, for 5 weeks. Isn't that correct, Todd? It was 5 weeks. Great. Yeah. So great. So folks, keep track of that for 5 weeks. That's just going to help with any contact tracing and whatnot. And it's really great just to have the scouts back together. I know our scouts are really enjoying it, especially with some schools getting shut down and things like that. And so we will keep you up to date as to any changes, of course, via email here on the webinars. So just keep an eye out for that. And especially for those of you who are in the Cascade Pacific Council, you get an updated email from us on Thursdays. That's when our Compass Points email comes out. We actually have split it up into 3 different categories. So there is a Scouts BSA one, a Cub Scout one, and an other one. And so hopefully it's more targeted to what you're interested in and what you're interested in learning about, and opportunities for your scouts and things of that nature. So just keep an eye out for that. We're trying to hone in and change things up a bit, try and give you the information that you really care about, short and sweet as possible, because as you saw at the beginning of this, for those of you who joined us at the beginning, there's just a lot going on, and we're still feeling kind of half COVID-y, in terms of all the activities. So there's going to be even more as we get out of this. And so there's always a lot of opportunities to to grow in scouting. So speaking of which, next week, we're going to talk about Wood Badge, which is going to be an awesome opportunity. I have not done, full confession, I have not done Wood Badge, but I'm signed up for this year. So I'm excited to hear more about it from some of the gang who has done it. And they are super excited to share it with you and to share their experiences with you. Really interesting opportunities to grow, not just in scouting, but in general as a leader, which is going to help in your career and life and everything else, and just really building camaraderie with some fellow scouters. And it just is going to be a hoot. So I'm super excited about that. You can actually find out more about that at cpcbsa.org/woodbadge. And like we'd mentioned earlier, you can get reminders for these webinars. Go to the cpcbsa.org/calendar, and you can just click on the link there for the webinars, and you can download basically a calendar, an ICS file. So it's to add to your calendar for the reminders for these webinars, and just keep an eye out on your emails. That's there as well. So thanks so much to everybody who's joined us. I'm going to do one last check here on Facebook and here live here locally to see if there are any other questions. And it looks like everything is covered. And yeah, so I think we've got everything covered. Thank you all for joining us on Facebook, and thanks to all who joined us here in Zoom. We're super excited about it. Can't wait to get everybody back to summer camp, a more normal summer camp. I'm excited about it. My scouts are excited about it, and can't wait. So thanks so much, Chris and Todd, for all of your guidance, your wisdom, your continued energy and effort. And the craziness sort of continues a little bit. So, we're doing our best, as any good scout does. And so I really appreciate just the energy and effort. You and the volunteers, our incredible volunteer team who's been on the COVID task force, just absolutely awesome. Can't say enough about them. So thanks to all for joining us today, and we will see you all next week.